I would like to share with you a real incident that happened to me. A week before the incident, I started to wake up spontaneously around 3 o'clock in the night. Of course, in the movies, it is always explained that those 3 o'clock hours we watch are the starting time of those beings. I didn't pay attention at first, but I began to memorize looking at the time every time I woke up. I don't know how to pray, but as far as I know, I would recite, go to bed again, and cover myself with the quilt tightly. I wouldn't hear any sounds, nothing strange would happen, and my eyes would suddenly open at that hour. I thought about sharing it with my family, but I ignored it because it was just a coincidence. This is how it started. Then I started not waking up at those hours for 2 days. I said it was a coincidence and passed on, until I woke up again at that hour and started walking. Our house is a single-story house with a garden. My father loves taking care of the garden. In the family, I am very fond of my father, and my father is very fond of me. It's one of those hours again, but this time I'm unconscious. While the outer door of our house is going to the outer door, there is a living room door, so you have to open 2 doors when you go out. I want to wake up in those waters again at night and go out without being conscious. First, I head towards the living room door. I open the door. After opening it, I head towards the outside door, but behind the outside door, that is, the wall, I heard my father drinking tea in the garden and calling me, "Come, son, let's drink tea together." The interesting thing is, I can even see how my father is sitting, how many glasses are on the table. However, it is impossible for me to see with the door closed. Someone is showing me outside as if I have another eye outside. When I reach my hand to the door, when I try to open it, I realize that it is locked. Our door is always locked, but I try to open it as if I don't know. My mother hears the sound, thinks the door has been opened from the outside, and thinks it is a thief and calls out, "Who's there?" When I hear that voice, even though the bedroom is 10 meters away from me, I see how my mother is calling and in which direction she's lying, which is impossible. It's as if someone is there in one eye and shows me my mother. When I tried to open the door again, my mother appeared behind me, called my name and asked, "What are you doing here at this hour?" I suddenly regained consciousness. "When did I come here?" I asked. My mother said sleepwalking at that moment. I passed and went to bed one day later. I said to my mother, if my eyes were open, I don't know, your back was turned to me. When she turned and looked at me, she said it was open. I asked if my hands were in the air. She said no. I asked how you were lying in bed when I heard your voice. When I asked if the duvet was lying to the right and pulled up to her shoulders, she said, "How do you know? Did you come into the room?" Even as I write this now, I get goosebumps. When I told people around me, they said there was absolutely no sleepwalking. I love my father very much. They showed me him to go out. The fact that the door was locked was definitely my biggest luck. I've never been a fan of dark, secluded places. They remind me too much of all the horror stories I've read and movies I've watched. Yet here I was, at 2 a.m, on a desolate country road, trying to figure out why my car decided to break down. I called for a tow, but they said it would take at least an hour to reach me. Not wanting to stay in the car, I got out and decided to take a walk, hoping to at least catch a bar or two on my phone for some comfort. I hadn't gone far when I stumbled upon an old, decrepit house, partially hidden behind overgrown shrubs and trees. It looked abandoned, but my phone buzzed with a sudden signal strength, prompting me to venture closer. The front door was slightly ajar. A broken lock dangled uselessly on it. I hesitated for a moment, but decided to step in. My logic was simple. If I could get a clearer signal inside, I could browse the internet or watch videos until help arrived. I should have never entered that house. As soon as I set foot inside, the atmosphere changed. It felt colder, heavier. Unsettled, I fished my phone from my pocket only to find that the signal was now gone. In its place was a text message from an unknown number. "Leave now." Chills ran down my spine, and for a second I considered bolting. But then I thought it might be a prank, a joke from some local kids who knew about the place. Rolling my eyes at my own paranoia, I went further in. That's when I heard it, a low, guttural growl echoing through the halls. I froze. The sound was followed by footsteps, each one growing louder, closer. My heart pounded in my chest as I darted into a nearby room, shutting the door behind me. I looked around for a place to hide and decided on an old closet. With bated breath, I listened as the footsteps stopped right outside the room. The door creaked open, and then, after what felt like an eternity, creaked shut again. I thought I was safe until I heard another growl, this time from within the closet. Slowly, I turned my phone's flashlight on, revealing an inscription carved into the wall of the closet. "You're not alone." Before I could process what I was seeing, a cold hand grabbed me from behind. I screamed and stumbled out of the closet, bursting through the room's door, and ran as fast as I could towards the exit. I slammed into the front door with enough force to nearly break it off its hinges and sprinted to my car, not daring to look back. By sheer luck, or perhaps some divine intervention, the engine roared to life, and I sped away, leaving the cursed house far behind. When the tow truck finally found me, I was at a well-lit gas station, miles away from where my car had initially broken down. I never spoke of what happened, not wanting to relive that nightmarish experience. But sometimes, late at night, I still get text messages from an unknown number. "We missed you, come back." It was my first time house-sitting for the Johnsons, a lovely couple who lived 2 blocks away from me. They had 2 cats, a garden that needed watering, and a mailbox that needed emptying. Easy enough, I thought. The Johnsons were eager to show me around their home before they left for their 10-day vacation. Their house was a beautiful colonial, built in the early 1900s. It had that old house smell, wooden floorboards that creaked and antiquated, though charming decor. When we reached the basement door, Mr. Johnson hesitated. "You won't really need to go down there. It's mostly just storage and old junk. The cats don't go there, and neither should you." I laughed, thinking he was being overly cautious. "No problem, I won't snoop around." Days went by smoothly. The cats were friendly, the plants were watered, and the mail was sorted. On the 7th day, however, one of the cats, Bella, disappeared. I searched the entire house twice but couldn't find her. That's when I heard a soft mewling sound coming from the direction of the basement door. I paused, remembering Mr. Johnson's warning. The sound came again, a pitiful, muffled mewl. My concern for Bella outweighed my respect for the boundary I'd promised not to cross. I turned the doorknob, half expecting it to be locked, but it opened with a creak. I switched on the light. The staircase was steep, and the bulb at the bottom did a poor job of illuminating the room. The smell was musty, more intense than the rest of the house. I began to descend, each step groaning under my weight. "Bella," I called softly. Another mewl, closer now. When I reached the bottom, I flicked another switch, hoping to shed more light on the basement. To my surprise, the room was organized. Old furniture neatly covered with white sheets, stacks of labeled boxes, and a workbench with tools meticulously arranged. My eyes landed on a cat bed near the furnace, and next to it was Bella. She looked terrified. I picked her up, relieved yet puzzled. Why was there a cat bed in a place the cats don't go? As I turned to leave, a glint caught my eye. On the workbench there were photos. As I looked closer, my heart sank. They were pictures of me, pictures taken from a distance, pictures that captured my daily routine, leaving for work, grocery shopping, even house-sitting at the Johnsons'. The dates on them were recent. I felt a sudden rush of dread. My body turned ice cold. It was then that I heard the unmistakable sound of the basement door creaking shut. I bolted up the stairs, Bella still in my arms, and shoved against the door. It didn't budge. Panic flooded my veins. I looked around frantically and noticed a phone line on the workbench. I picked up an old rotary phone, praying it worked. Dial tone. I dialed 911. The police arrived within minutes, breaking down the door. I gave my statement, trembling, and handed over the pictures. The Johnsons were called back from their vacation, questioned extensively, but ultimately released due to lack of evidence. I never house-sat again, never walked past their home, and invested in a home security system. The police never found out who took the photos, and the Johnsons moved away a month later. The scariest part? When I was cleaning up my mail a few days after the incident, I found a postcard. There was no return address, only a message. "Thanks for taking care of Bella. See you soon." And just like that, I realized I wasn't just house-sitting. I had been the one being watched.